My name is Eric LaCharity, and I am the Associate Director of Student Involvement and Leadership Development at Southern Connecticut State University. Welcome to our panel discussion on Greek life at Southern. We are very excited to have this conversation for you. We are very excited for where you are in this college search process, and we would like to help you make that decision by getting you excited about fraternity and sorority life at Southern Connecticut State University. With me, I have 4 of our distinguished student leaders and members of our fraternities and sororities at Southern Connecticut State University. So without further ado, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Let's start off with Michael.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Anderson. I'm a member of Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity here at Southern's campus. I'm the president, and it just improved my life exponentially since I've joined. So I highly recommend it, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Okay, then I'll go. Hi, everyone. My name is Jerea McIntosh. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. My hometown is Waterbury, Connecticut. My major is social work. I'm a junior, and yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karina. I am the Vice President and Treasurer of Hermandad de Signiota Arfa Incorporada. I am a senior majoring in communication disorders, and I am from New Haven, Connecticut.
Hi, guys. My name's Talia. I'm from New Milford, Connecticut. I'm a junior at Southern, and my major is environmental science, and I have a minor in public health. And I am a sister of Omega Zeta. Oh my God, I can't talk. Sorry. Omega Zeta Pi, and I am the civic involvement chair for this sorority, and then also for Greek Life Council, I am the external affairs chair.
Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, so before we get into the kind of like the body of what we're going to talk about today, I just want to mention that we do have a question feature there. So if at any point you have a question that you would like answered, or you haven't heard the answer to a question that you've been thinking about throughout this session, please feel free to type it in the chat, and we will happily get to that to answer your question. But we're going to start off just by talking a little bit about Greek life at Southern, kind of some of the nuts and bolts, some of the basics of our community at Southern Connecticut State University. So we have 12 Greek-lettered organizations on our campus that are recognized by the university. That means that we have over 200 active members on our campus. Some of our best and brightest student leaders are represented within our fraternities and sororities. Some of the big things I can say is that academics are always at the forefront of what we do in Greek life. Our cumulative GPA of our fraternities and sororities is a 3.29, which speaks to the academic focus of our organizations, really the emphasis that's put on the academic process for our organizations. And it's just one of the things that we hold really dearly to our heart, and kind of the way that we go in the direction that we push our fraternities and sororities. In addition to that, our organizations commit themselves to hundreds of community service hours throughout the year, raise thousands of dollars for philanthropic purposes. And like I said, our students are represented across the campus.
Is super weird.
In different leadership positions, whether it be orientation ambassadors, president advisors, and other areas. Sorry, I just heard some different noise in the background. And then last but not least, our 12 organizations are governed by what we call a Greek Life Council. And our Greek Life Council is kind of an overarching governing organization that oversees our 12 fraternities and sororities, provides direction, establishes policies and procedures, and also, just like I said, provides direction. So we have some questions that we prepared to kind of help address some of the questions that you might have. So we're going to get started with those. But like I said, if you have questions along the way, please do let me know. So to the panel, students, first question I have for each of you, and feel free to come in at any point. If you want to go first, please go for it. But how has being a member of a Greek-lettered organization on our campus contributed to your success as a student at Southern?
I'll go. It really opens up your network. Automatically you have, how many ever members are already in the organization. Those are all your friends immediately. And you you have such a welcome community on campus that it helps you excel. You know, let's say you may be having problems in a class and you have a majority or a very diverse like selection of majors within the fraternity or sorority you decide to choose. Somebody can easily be able to help you, right? And they already have connections to professors or other officials or other organizations on campus. So it really you know, opens up your scope on campus, and it gives you a lot more opportunity that you didn't have before.
No, yeah, just to go off that, I transferred into Southern. So I came from a school that literally had no clubs, no Greek life, nothing like that. And actually, when I was looking into Southern, Greek life was something that like made me want to come here. And now that I am in it, I can definitely say that it has made me step out of my comfort zone in many different areas, especially leadership. And like Mike said, you definitely make a lot of connections. I know like we talk with sisters all the time, and like if someone needs help with the class, like Mike said, there's someone always there, stuff like that. And my last thing is definitely, I love that I am like a part of something on campus instead of just like going to class, going home. Like you always have something to look forward to with chapters and meetings and just events that Greek life puts on and stuff like that.
And for me personally, joining Greek life has helped me step into a leadership role. Before, I was a freshman when I became a member of my organization, and I was slowly but surely making my way up into the leadership roles at Southern. So once I became a member, it was kind of like different people who are like head of the leadership roles saw me and were like, oh, wow, because she joined this organization, I feel that she has the potential to do the work and to be a leader on this campus. So it definitely has helped me to gain a lot of leadership roles here on campus.
Yeah, I can totally agree with everyone else. It also provides you a community, not only within your Greek letter organization, but also other Greek letter organizations on campus. I feel like sometimes we forget that, you know, we're able to connect with each other. And, you know, like Mike has said, and how Talia has said, you know, if you need help with a test or an exam, or just wanting to hang out with somebody on campus, you know, especially with Greek Life Council, we're kind of all able to, you know, like mingle with each other and sort of create those connections. And as Drea said, you know, once I became an hermana from Hermandad de Semillota Alpha Incorporada, a lot of other, you know, departments saw that I was in a role and I was doing well. And it actually, you know, it helped me gain confidence, but it also helped, you know, other individuals gain confidence in me. And I was able to, you know, receive opportunities as well, not only within my organization, but within my department. So it definitely is something that you're able to use your platform within your organization to sort of help you, you know, gain success in other ways.
Right. Kind of just to go off what Karina said, the confidence level that you gain from it, it sets you up for success on campus. You will have in my opinion, you will have an overall greater college experience if you are in a Greek life organization, because the community level and the confidence level, it boosts everything else that you have, and you put your all into everything that you do on campus, and you just keep moving up from there.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you all said. I think there's a lot of commonalities between what you all said and kind of your involvement in your own specific organizations and some of the similar takeaways that you've had. But you kind of mentioned something that just triggered something in my mind. So like some of the benefits that you talked about that you've gotten, can you speak specifically to kind of like how being a member of a Greek letter organization would be different from involvement in any other club or organization on campus? Like what's special about Greek life that you would get from that you wouldn't from another organization?
I would say that other organizations other than Greek life organizations on campus, to some extent end when you graduate. I can't speak for all the organizations because I don't know about all of them, but at least for us, we have a network that spans beyond graduation. And for mine, we have a headquarters. We're one of the bigger fraternities. So it's basically set up like a business. For example, you get benefits when you join as far as like trips that you can go on. All right. Our headquarters sets up these trips for us that we pay a small amount of money for from all of our donors. We get to go out. We get to be posted up in 5-star hotels, which I had no idea about. I thought we were just going to go to a regular hotel, listen to a few conferences. And for example, it's called the Regional Leadership Conference, the one I went to. We went to this like extravagant hotel on the water of Jersey City. You could see like New York City from the window of your room. And little did I know that I know there was going to be speakers there. But I didn't know there was going to be such a speaker of note as to me meeting Steve Forbes of Forbes magazine. I mean, he's a big thing. A lot of people know who he is, and it was just kind of surreal, seeing that type of person. There's some kind of somewhat celebrity there. Not to mention being in a room with hundreds of people in your own organization that you've never met before. It just makes you realize how big and successful of what you are a part of actually is, and that you are a part of that thing.
Just to touch a little bit about what Michael said, definitely after graduating as an undergrad, in terms of my organization, you definitely have a lot of possibilities to pursue other things. So like Michael said, they have a national headquarters. We also have a national headquarters located in Washington, D.C. So also there are our organization is broken up into different regions and areas all across the world. And so with us, you have the possibility of pursuing a national executive position. So during an undergrad, when you join an undergraduate chapter, there's an executive board, and you can serve as a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, all that stuff. But when you graduate, you have the opportunity of possibly pursuing a national executive position. So one day you may possibly become the international president of the organization. So definitely in terms of compared to like other clubs and organizations, with Greek life, with some organizations, you have the possibility of reaching a whole nother level.
Yeah, my organization is very similar as to, it doesn't end after college. We do emphasize that it is a lifetime commitment. So after college, you can continue on to, reach towards, national executive board, because not only do we have a national executive board, there's like directors and officer positions. So if you're wanting to be a part of like an expansion committee, you're able to do that. A lot of the hermanas actually from SCSU Colony are in national executive positions. The founder is actually the national treasurer of our organization. And a couple of the other hermanas are working towards expansion and community service. So a lot of organizations do give you the opportunity to branch out after undergrad, just because, there are a lot of members who are passionate about community service and just making the organization better. So it's something that it's more than just 4 years. Obviously, you can do a lot in college, but being able to have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more leeway after you graduate is also cool. And we also have regional meetings and a national conference every year. So with that, you're able to meet people from other chapters. You're actually able to, go to workshops, go to meetings that sort of go into the specifics of updates. So there's definitely a lot of things that you can do within the year to sort of stay involved and stay active. So it's pretty cool being a part of a Greek lettered organization.
Yeah, just to add on to what everyone has said. So my sorority is a bit different than the ones that have been discussed, just because mine is the local sorority. So that means that we're only at SCSU. And so Omega Zeta Pi doesn't really, we don't have like a nationals or anything like that, even though that does sound very cool. But we definitely do stay connected, regardless when you graduated, stuff like that. We have like a huge group chat of all the sisters. And we talk in it from time to time, and it's just nice like no matter where you go, like no matter what you're doing in your life, like you will always have those people. Like just if you need absolutely anything, you could ask them. It's just nice to have a sense of like sisterhood or like brotherhood, no matter like what part of your life you're in. So I love that about Greek life.
Yeah, so you all transitioned the conversation perfectly. So I just wanted to take a second to kind of talk about the structure that we have at Southern and kind of the organizations that are represented. So there are a variety of umbrella organizations that exist that house some of our national fraternities and sororities and international fraternities and sororities. And we have a variety of those councils represented on our campus. So I just want to take 2 minutes to kind of talk about some of those different councils that exist. And then if our student leaders want to expand a little bit on any of those, they can. But like Talia mentioned, we do have 2 local organizations. So they were founded on Southern's campus. They're unique to Southern's campus. We also have 2 Nphc sororities, and that is the National Panhellenic Conference. And that is a conference formed of 26 national sororities. And we have, like I said, 2 Nphc sororities on our campus. Then there's also the Nphc, which is the National Panhellenic Council. And that's a council formed of 9 historically Black Greek lettered organizations. And we have 4 D9 organizations on our campus. Then there's also NALFO, which is the National Association of Latino Fraternal Organizations. And that's an association formed by 20 of the largest and most established Latino Greek letter organizations. And we have 2 NALFO organizations on our campus. And then we also have 2 national fraternities on our campus. And that's where we get our 12 organizations from. So they all bring something different to our campus. We like to think that our 12 organizations really represent the best of Greek life. So that's a little bit about the structure, but I also, we're seeing some questions come in kind of about the recruitment process and what organizations look for. So before we get to that, I just want to take a second to talk about the eligibility requirements for Greek life. So in order to become a member of a Greek lettered organization on our campus, you have to have completed at least 12 credits on Southern's campus or at another institution of higher education. So the first semester for new students is really about exploration. It's about going to different events on our campus, getting to know our fraternities and sororities. This decision to go Greek on our campus should be one that's really intentional, and there should be an informed decision that's made. We really like to give students that first semester to learn as much as they can, to get adjusted and acclimated to life as a college student, learn what college courses are like, learn what opportunities for involvement there are on our campus, and really be able to, once the spring semester rolls around, have a full understanding of what Greek life is, know who our 12 organizations are, and be able to connect themselves and form a relationship with one that they feel the closest aligned with, whatever it may be. And our recruitment process allows students to kind of see a little bit of everything, to explore, and like I said, to make a decision that's best for them. And our organizations are really fantastic in the way they recruit. They're open, they're collaborative. They like when students get to see other organizations, so they know that when a student chooses them or goes to their recruitment event or goes to their informational or whatever it may be, that it's because they want to be there and that they have a genuine interest in the organization. But let's address one of the questions that was asked. And if any of the panelists want to respond to any of the things I said, also feel free to do that in your answers to this question. But one of the questions that was asked was, in going through kind of this recruitment process, are there any common characteristics that organizations look for when they're recruiting members?
I would say number one, interest. I mean, we have an event that we conduct where we table all of our organizations and you come and speak with us. And it's kind of like a mini interview, you know, and we see a certain level of interest in you. Then we give you further information to contact us later on, and we can, meet somewhere else and you can ask us certain questions, specific questions that you didn't ask before about organizations. But I would definitely say to have confidence and to ask plenty of questions so you know what you're getting into, because it is a big commitment, but it's a very fruitful commitment. It will give you a lot of positivity in your life, and you will not regret your decision.
I'll go.
You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, Karina, you could go. You could go. Go.
Okay. I know that for my organization in particular, we really do just want you to come as you are. We embrace individualism and uniqueness. That's something that we take a lot of pride in. Our organization in particular represents over 90 nationalities nationally. So it's really cool to see how we're all from different backgrounds. We all have different interests. So most importantly, it's just come as you are, be yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to do research, because that's what we're trying to see. We want to see that you're interested. We want to see that you're passionate, because at the end of the day, we're a community of very passionate individuals, especially because my organization is Latinx based. We do take a lot of pride in it. We are very passionate. We are very driven, group of women. So, bring that passion, bring the drive, be confident, because if you want it, you got to show us you want it, and that just shows us that, you're ready for the commitment, because it is a huge time commitment. You do have to make certain shifts in your schedule, and it requires a lot of discipline. I know that as a college student, it could be very difficult to sort of balance school and work and Greek life. So that's why, it's good to just take your time. It's okay if you don't make the decision after 1 or 2 semesters, because as Michael said, it's a very, it's a huge commitment. So it's just important to make sure that you're positive and you're very confident in what you're going to put yourself, what organization you're going to put yourself into.
And when we say big commitment, that is in no way, shape, or form direct you away from us. That is embracing us, because anything that you deem a big commitment will also give you a big return. So that should encourage you to learn more about our organizations. Definitely.
I feel like sometimes, like if we were at Meet the Greeks or just at tabling events, when you say, "Oh, this is a lifetime commitment," sometimes that could throw people off and kind of scare them. But we don't mean it in a way like you're stuck here forever, but or in a way where once you join this organization, other members and the organization itself kind of rely on you to continue the work of the organization, and also to continue the work of your prospective chapter that you join on your campus. And in terms of like certain characteristics or traits, we're just looking for, like Karina and Michael said, someone who's interested, someone who will be willing to do the work of the organization, someone who also can balance Greek life, but also their academics, because without your academics, all of us here wouldn't be members of Greek life. And just overall, just to have a passion to help out your community within your respective organization.
No, yeah, I 100% agree with what everyone has said. But going off of what Karina said specifically, I definitely 100% agree. I know that there's a bunch of stereotypes, especially going into recruitment, just like I have to wear this, or they won't like me, or I have to say this, or like it's not going to work out, just stuff like that. And I think it's the most like appreciated thing when girls or guys for fraternities come in and just not totally speak their mind, but just like give their own thoughts and opinions, and like aren't reading off of a script, if that makes sense. Like just be comfortable and just stuff like that. And
Right. There's no cookie cutter form for people that we look for. We don't look at that person and say, "Oh no, they're not fit," or that person's like, "Oh yeah, definitely them." That's why we want you to come speak with us and ask questions, because then we can get a feel for you, and we can know if you really want to take the next step.
Excellent. Okay, so while we're on the topic of kind of like the characteristics and going through like the recruitment process, there are a couple questions that came in, and one of them is in regards to kind of the time commitment that comes along with this decision. So if you wanted to take a second to speak to what that looks like, that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks.
The time commitment, I personally believe it depends on what you do personally. So for me, for example, I'm a student leader on campus. I'm part of the Student Government Association here at Southern. I work 2 jobs on campus. Let's see, 4 days out of the week. I also, like in the past, I used to be a peer mentor. So I do a lot of things on top of Greek life. So time management is a big, big thing. So if you're not really used to time management, definitely while considering joining a Greek organization, I suggest like you work on that time management, because there are going to be some times where you have meetings, chapter meetings, a whole bunch of stuff that you have to do, but it all depends on how you manage your time. So, and also taking care of yourself is a big important thing as well. So if you notice like you have a lot on your plate, sometimes it's okay to say no. That's definitely like one thing that I personally feel, that if you're in a Greek organization or just a student leader in general, like it's okay to take that time to yourself in order to get back on track. So definitely, it all depends on what you do in your daily life in terms of time management.
Right, like Juria said, time management.
You can go ahead. Go ahead. It's
like
fine.
Juria said, time management is a huge thing. That's one of the major things getting any kind of leadership position on campus will grant you, but especially Greek life. It teaches you how to structure yourself. I mean, once you graduate and you get a job and you have all these different things going on, what are you going to need to learn how to do? Structure your time. So it's kind of like having a job before you get your real job post-graduation with your degree. So it's perfect training and a preliminary step in your life to prepare you for that.
Yeah, I think Michael actually brought up a really good point. It was something that I was going to mention. So yeah, similar to Drea, I do have other student organizations that I work with. I do work on campus at the Academic Success Center. I have held, e-board positions in other clubs and organizations. And I think the most important thing is making sure that you cut out that time, because like even though we all have the same 24 hours, all of our days look different. So I think it's important to take out the time to really think about, are you able to manage the time? Because at the end of the day, like academics is the most important part. That's why we're all here. If we weren't at university, we wouldn't have been introduced to Greek letter organizations in the first place. So I think it's important to make sure that you're not taking too much on your plate. I know that in my chapter in particular, we really focus on communication and making sure that, we know which classes are being taken. We try to be considerate of everyone's time, because even though we all want to put in the same amount of work, it's important to, just be aware of your other members. So like, for example, my chapter in particular, we have a meeting every semester to just go over each other's schedules, like that in regards to school, work, self-care. We focus a lot about self-care because honestly, if you don't take care of yourself, it's really difficult to just go through day by day things. So it's important to communicate, to advocate for yourself, and, take time for the things that are most important. And obviously, since we're at university, academics is the most important. And if you don't put it first, your chapter members will, and they will definitely hold you accountable. So it's important to just keep that in mind. And yeah.
Yeah, our
Yeah,
motto, at
I
least for
agree
us,
with
is,
what everyone.
and I'll tell you.
Okay. I was just gonna say that I agree with what everyone has said. I definitely believe that what you put into Greek life is what you're gonna get out of it. So I hold 2 different positions in Greek life for Greek Life Council and my sorority, and I can definitely say a big is time management, but as well just staying organized. Like I know I have a big planner of like everything I have to do for the week, just stuff like that, and that helps a lot. So
I would agree wholeheartedly. I think one of the things, even on kind of a more global level, when students talk about involvement on our campus, it's really kind of finding your passions, finding where you want to dedicate your time. And then also, like these wonderful people said, like being able to structure your schedule, structure your time in order to put you in a position where you can still focus on your academics, academics are always at the forefront of what we do. So that's really the center. And then obviously, our students have family commitments and friend commitments and work and other things. So it's really about being able to find that balance. But as you can see by the 4 students on this panel and the 200 others that are on our campus that are thriving academically and doing well in other areas on campus, that they found that ability, they found that balance. So we like to think that with the right time and the right commitment, that it's possible for any student that walks onto our campus as long as they're committed to it. But when we talk now, we're talking about kind of some of the things that students should expect, like the expectations going in. Can we just talk a little bit about like the costs associated with the Greek life and some of the financial expectations and what students should prepare for, what they should expect? Anybody can start this one.
Right. So I believe all Greek life organizations have something we call dues, right? At least for mine, like I was saying before, we have a national headquarters like many others. And that trip I was talking about, that regional leadership conference that we go to annually, it has costs. And we pay $150. Usually the price for that would be well over $1,000. And that's because all of us pay dues. We contribute that to the fraternity that acts as a nonprofit, on top of many other notable alumni that also are big donors to the fraternity, pay for a bunch of things like that. And we have a vast set of different kinds of leadership conference related trips that we take we can take. And they're less than $200 each. And most of them are over $1,000 or $3,000 in value. For example, we have something called the Leadership Academy, which is where you basically get flown out to Colorado for 4 days. You get put up in this this place. It's in like the Colorado Springs Mountains. I've never been personally, but I know a lot of fraternity members that have, and they rave about it. And they get to mingle with the top level guys in the fraternity, the grand chairman, and a whole bunch of different people. That would you got to account for the hotel costs, the plane, the bus, everything. $100. So there's a lot of benefits to paying dues. And even if some may seem more expensive than others, or it may seem like a big price, right from the start, it's well worth it. It's well worth it.
In general, with the cost, so say initially, if you speak to a member of the organization you're interested in, and you ask about the cost, initially we might not be able to give you like full details of like every single cost of joining the organization, but do expect that there is a price, but the price pays off in the end. So like what Michael said, we have conferences, like for my organization, we have conferences maybe like every month or every other month that we attend that we do have to pay for. Also like the initial cost of joining the organization. But in terms of like, so as I said before, I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So that is one of the Divine Nine organizations. So we are nonprofit organizations. So what that means is that all the money that each member pays, whether in dues or the initial fee that it costs to join the organization, it goes straight to the headquarters. So basically every single member that comes in carries out the lifespan of the organization. So whatever we pay, it goes straight to the organization itself or the headquarters itself.
Yeah, in regards to dues, my organization, we're pretty accommodating, and we do sit down and break it down step by step so that you know what your money is going towards. I found that very important, especially when you're, joining a Greek organization. It isn't it's pretty expensive sometimes, depending on, what year you join or just in general, which organization you join. But my hermanas in particular, they sat me down and they said, you know what, this is an investment for you. Every coin you put in goes back to you some way, shape, or form. So it's important to think of it as like it is an investment towards your future, towards your professional development, towards your networking, and having the opportunities to go to regional meetings and participate in, certain roles. So it's always important to just think of it, even though sometimes it can be costly depending on which organization you join. It is something that is worthwhile.
Excellent. Okay, so let's like go back a little bit. So let's talk about like the beginning for each of you. So talk to me about like your decision-making process to pursue Greek life, and then also kind of the process that you went through to choose the organization that you did, because students choose organizations for a host of reasons. So talk about like your personal experience and kind of like the path that you went on to end up where you are today.
Well, for me, I knew in high school that I wanted to join Greek life in some way. I wasn't too sure like what organization specifically, but with coming to Southern and we had Meet the Greeks, honestly, that was like the best opportunity for me in terms of like learning more about Greek life, because all of the Greek organizations offered were tabling, and even some of the organizations like the NALFO and D9 were like strolling. So you got to learn a little bit more about each one. But after the event, I had my organization on lock, so I knew I had to do research. So what we really try to encourage to anybody who's interested in joining a Greek life organization is to do your research, because like we said before, like this is a lifetime commitment, and you want to make sure that the organization that you joined fits you the best. So I took my time, did my research about my organization, and one of the things that struck me the most is their service out into the community and nationwide. So we have different philanthropies that we do that benefit different communities. And in high school, I was a person, what you consider like a student activist. I was always involved, always wanting to help people, always doing community service. So seeing all that through Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, I was like, this is the organization for me. So yeah, and then here I am.
I guess for me, since I'm a political science major, so naturally I would gravitate towards things that would grant me the most connections to benefit my future career. And actually, when I was looking up all the different fraternities available, I found an interesting statistic saying that over 70% of Congress were either in fraternities or sororities. So that jumped out at me right away. And then I found Tau Kappa Epsilon on our campus, among the others, except that being the second largest fraternity in the world with the most active chapters. So that really opened my eyes. And then when I actually got to know these guys, you make connections with the people right on your own campus, way before graduation happens, way before it'll benefit you in your future career after you graduate. And then you learn about all the service that we do. And our main philanthropic source is St. Jude's, which actually one of our alumni, Danny Thomas, he founded St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So it was really interesting to learn about all the history about that and to be involved in actually raising money and having the liberty to do so. So it's an overall great experience.
For my journey of going into Greek life, I knew that in high school I wanted to be in an organization that kept me active. In high school, I was heavily involved, not only in sports, but also in like arts and community service and honor society. So I was already used to having like a structured schedule and, giving back to my community. That's something that I'm personally very passionate about. Also, I am Puerto Rican. I am of Latina, descent. So I wanted to have a community, or at least a safe space on my campus in which I was able to be amongst people who grew up in the community, can understand some of the things that I have gone through. And also, having the opportunity to just get in touch with my culture, because I was raised in the United States. So it's kind of difficult to learn about the history and culture of Puerto Rico. So being able to have the opportunity through SIA, I was able to connect with not only my culture, but other people, and also bring awareness to the Latino culture at large. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, and SIA is very passionate about. We at least try to do 1 to 2 events each semester, sort of promoting that. And the major point was really the community service, because we kind of do community service on 3 levels. So there's local, national, and international. Locally, we have something called the ROSE program, which initially is a program that introduces girls in high school to Greek life in general, and just sort of a mentorship program. So that's one thing that we do. And then on a national level, we have one Heartland, which was initially a camp that was set up during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, to help people sort of heal from that. And now it's sort of transformed into a camp in which helps children who are going through like medical treatment, or have like really special disorders that they can sort of help them with, and also like families in need. So that's something that we do a community service event or a fundraiser every semester for. And then on an international level, we actually partner with Children International. So we sponsor a girl named Perla. She's from the Dominican Republic. She's currently 9 years old, going to turn 10 in November. And until she's 18 years old, we provide support. So it could be school supplies, it could be clothing, it could be monetary donations. And we also have a fundraiser every semester in honor of her. And the whole point of Children's International and sponsoring a child is to prepare her not only, when she gets to college, or, for her real life, but just to support her and her family until they're able to, get on their feet.
Yeah, so like I said, I mentioned this earlier, but I transferred into Southern. So I came from a school in Massachusetts that didn't really have any clubs or anything that I was interested in. I tried to get involved, but I just didn't feel like it was for me. So when I decided to transfer to Southern, like I said, the first thing that I literally did was, like Drea said to do, was research. And so I immediately logged on to Southern and found all the different organizations and was just reading the little blurbs. And then I followed everyone on Instagram. And even just from doing that, you get so much information. And I definitely think a big tip is going into recruitment and stuff like that. Don't, I would say just keep your options open, necessarily looking at an organization's social media or the little blurb doesn't necessarily mean that when you meet them in person, it's going to mesh and you're going to connect and stuff like that. So I would definitely just say keep your options open. And then when I went through recruitment myself, just the girls that I met going through it with me and just how we could relate to each other, I definitely knew that this is where I'm supposed to be. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. So you just said something that sparked my memory of something that we should really take a few minutes to talk about, and I would love it if a couple of you would just kind of expand a little bit. But can we talk a little bit about the recruitment process? Oh my gosh, the recruitment process. It looks different for each organization. So we have a formal recruitment process that takes place over the first couple weeks of a semester. And then we also have organizations who practice membership intake, which looks a little different. So if any of you want to talk about kind of the recruitment process for a NALFO organization, the intake process for a D9 organization, what OZPs or TEACS recruitment looks like. If we can just talk a little bit about that so students can understand the kind of difference depending on which route they go.
So obviously it's been a little different this semester because most of the things have been online because of COVID. But even so, we still made it work. We usually set up about 5 or 6 different events over the span of 2 weeks, and they'll have different themes. One might be going out to eat. One might be an informational session on our philanthropy or our fraternity in general. This past recruitment process, we had an alumni night where we had a bunch of alumni from Southern that were from Tau Kappa Epsilon to come talk to the people that were interested in joining us. And just to kind of tell them old stories or any questions that the new potential guys might have, they can ask them. So it was a really great time. And really, we just get to know you throughout those 2 weeks to see if we really want to give you a real opportunity to join the fraternity or sorority. And it's a really fun process. As far as the rest of it goes, it's about an 8-week process, and it's really similar throughout the whole entire time. We spend time with you. You get to learn about the fraternity or sorority, and there's only so much we could talk about that. You'd have to, get into the recruitment process to, learn more about that. But it's a good time. It's a good time.
So I'll speak in terms of like majority D9 organizations. So like what Eric said, we practice membership intake process. So basically what that means is, so typically like most Greek organizations rush, but we don't. So in a semester, we'll have like a whole bunch of events that you could come out to, where you can meet the chapter that you're interested in joining, chapter and organization that you're interested in joining. That's a chance for you to bond with us, get to know us, and we get to know you and bond with you. So what we're trying to do there is create a connection, create a relationship. So further down the line, we speak as a chapter and we decide if we feel that you are fit to join our chapter / organization, and that you'll continue on to do the membership intake. And basically, so compared to like a rush event that may be like 2 weeks, ours may be longer. We may not necessarily do intake every single semester. Some organizations or some chapters might do one fall semester, skip spring, do the other fall. Some may do back-to-back fall and spring. It depends on the chapter dynamic, what they decide as a chapter, what is best fit as a chapter. So a lot of chapters, we have this conversation of quality over quantity. So we definitely try to, it's very important for us to build that relationship with you first, and you definitely to build a relationship with us, so you can see like how we act as a chapter, how we are like in real life, like our goofy selves, like so definitely like when you, like if we decide that we want you to join our chapter and organization, you feel right at home. So you won't feel uncomfortable or feel that, oh, like maybe this wasn't the best fit for me. So that's why we do the membership intake.
Yeah, very similar to Drea's sort of explanation. We do have membership intake process, so we don't do rush. It is a longer process, but because of that, you are really sure as to whether or not you want to join SIA. The whole purpose is we really do want to take our time in getting to know you more as a friend before an hermana, because we always say it's sisters before letters. So we do events, obviously, on Southern's campus. We recently started SIA Week again. So usually that's when we have all of our events, but it's not rush. You can come, you can't, it doesn't matter. You could come as you want. But we do have a lot of events and sort of opportunities during the semester to meet with us outside of, events in school. Sometimes we'll have like Zoom calls just to chat. Like we'll have like coffee on Saturday mornings, or we'll go on walks or go out to dinner. So we try to, do things like that. So you get to know us more as a person, and also as hermanas, like through events and through informationals. But to sort of get your process started, you do have to attend an informational. And then at the end of the process, that's when you sort of decide whether or not you're interested or not. And you just let us know. And then once you get towards the point in which you're ready to receive an application and start the educational process, then we sort of explain things further there. but it is a little bit longer than Rush, but we do that to ensure that, you want to be a SIA, and we want to make sure that, you take your time in making the decision, so we don't really rush our interests at all. And it's something, as Drea mentioned, it's not every semester that we have a line. We may have one fall, may not have one spring, or maybe we'll have it back to back, or maybe spring and then no fall. So it really is dependent on, the interest and whether or not they want to join and start their educational process. But yeah, that's sort of how our process goes.
Excellent. Thank you so much for explaining that. So we did have a question, and it's about one of the final things that we had on our agenda to talk about here. But the question was in terms of hazing prevention on our campus and what that looks like. I'll just talk for a minute, and if anybody wants to add on, please feel free to do so. But on Southern's campus, we practice a zero tolerance for hazing is really where we stand on our campus. Our organizations are put through workshops each semester to kind of just reinforce those ideas. And I think if you talk to each of these students individually within their organizations, it's instilled that the hazing is a thing that does not happen. You might see if your exposure to Greek life has been through movies or TV shows or whatever it may be, like you might see a side of Greek life, but on our campus, we really focus on the positive attributes of Greek life, the academic success, the involvement, the service, the networking, the relationships, all of the good that comes with Greek life. But through our education and through our just really day-to-day interactions with our fraternities and sororities, we do our best to instill that concept of zero hazing on our campus. So we have hazing policies that are built into our rules and regulations and our student code of conduct. And then within Greek life, we do continuous education to make sure that that's a uniform stance across our 12 organizations, and that it's something that we hopefully don't have to think about or worry about, or we don't have to become a headline or whatever it may be. So it's our commitment, it's the university's commitment, it's the 12 organizations' commitment to anti-hazing. And to reinforce that, we also bring in external speakers. We provide different resources to our organizations to make sure that they're current with kind of what might be considered, because sometimes depending on the person, depending on the scenario, people's perceptions and the definitions could change, could evolve, whatever it may be. So we want to make sure that our students understand like where we are in 2021 right now in terms of what hazing might look like and what we need to be aware of, what red flags might be, so they can practice the best practice possible for their new member education, for their recruitment events, for the way they carry themselves on campus and the way they interact with students on our campus. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that. Feel free if you do, or you can just nod your heads and we'll go on to the next question. Okay, perfect. All right, so we have just about 5 minutes left in this panel. So one of the questions that I really wanted to ask all of you, just as like this kind of like, let's go full circle with this, and speaking specifically to students who might be interested in Greek life on our campus or might be interested in Southern Connecticut State University, just the advice that you would give to someone who is thinking about this world of Greek life, who has, they're sitting in this panel discussion right now, listening because they have an interest. Like, what advice? And you've given some great advice already, so maybe we're reiterating something that we said earlier. But what advice would you give to a student who is looking to go Greek, to join a Greek letter organization on our campus?
Just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it. No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously though, honestly, I would recommend doing your research. Look up everything having to do with fraternities and sororities online. Look up specific ones. Look up about what they do. Whatever aligned with your interests, try to find an organization on our campus that aligns with those interests, and then go from there.
I would definitely say take the time to, like what Michael said, take the time to do your research and really think about it. Necessarily like when you join or when you go into college, your freshman year, you don't necessarily have to join Greek life then. There's some people who join their sophomore year. There's some people who even join their senior year. But definitely take that time to do your research and also think about the bigger picture. So when you're looking at a prospective organization, think like, can I see myself doing the work of this organization? Can I see myself being a leader in terms of Greek life? Can I basically see and think about yourself in the future if you were to join a Greek life organization?
Yeah, I agree. I think taking your time is the most important, not only with just research, but also getting to know the sisters or brothers of the organization. Because at the end of the day, you do have to work with them. You do have to collaborate with them. So it's important to see if, that's the best fit for you, and also have fun. Even if you decide not to join a Greek letter organization, that's still an opportunity and a great way to make friends and make, life-lasting memories in college. Because, sometimes it isn't the best fit for people because it's probably too much of a time commitment, or there's a lot of responsibilities involved. And that's perfectly fine. But it's okay to, get to know the members and, make friends. That's the whole point of, becoming an interest of an organization or a club. It's just to socialize, collaborate, and, use that platform to, seek your interest. I know that for me, I definitely use my platform through SIA to talk about like mental health. That's something that's very important for me. That's actually what I'm going to be going into for grad school. So not only does, just taking your time having fun, but it really does help you sort of see what you want to do in life. So take your time, have fun, and, I think things will fall in place for sure.
Yeah, going off of what Karina just said actually brings me into my point. One of the sayings that has stuck with me, especially since I've transferred and just everything, is that everything happens for a reason, and we are here for a reason, and just stuff like that. So I definitely think when you're looking into Greek life, and if you have the opportunity to maybe potentially join an organization, I definitely say don't knock it until you try it. Definitely. I know a bunch of sisters, honestly, that I live with now. I live with 4 of the girls that are in my sorority. I know a few of them actually came to meet the Greeks very hesitant, didn't really know if they were into it, and they just came to a few of OCP's events, stuff like that, and they actually fell in love with it. So I definitely think even if you're on the fence, still go through with it. Maybe even bring a friend if that makes you feel more comfortable. But even I went through it alone, and I know through that I met people through my recruitment experience that made it much more fun and enjoyable. So either way, you'll find your people, and everything's meant to happen for a reason. So
I would also like to say, as you're thinking about joining a Greek life organization, definitely just be yourself. There are some times where, once you become a member of a Greek life organization, you may get a lot of notice, and you're like, oh my God, you're part of this organization now, congratulations. But don't try to force yourself to be something that you're not. Just automatically just go in as you're trying to pursue an organization. Just be yourself, because that's what your prospective chapter members are going to see firsthand. They're going to be like, oh, there's something about this girl, there's something about this guy, and we definitely need to get them, and they need to be part of our organization or chapter. So that's definitely my number one tip for anyone who's interested in joining a Greek organization.
Amazing. And I think it's important to note, and Talia, you can help me out with this, but I don't think it's ever too early to kind of start that process. So even without visiting our physical campus or looking on our website, we have pretty active social media accounts. Our Greek Life Council really does a great job of highlighting the achievements, the accolades, the events and activities that our fraternities and sororities are hosting. So we can definitely tell you how to follow us there, and Talia can do that. Talia,
wait, sorry, what am I answering? I was smiling.
Hit us with the Instagram for Greek Life Council so people can follow along with what's going on in this world.
Oh, yeah, of course. So it's at SCSU, then underscore, and then Greek Life underscore. And we try to just incorporate like everything that our organizations are doing. So right now we do like Why Wednesdays, which is like specifically like GLC reps will explain why they love their organization, why they love Greek Life, just explaining to everyone. And then we also do Feature Fridays. So if an organization like does a volunteering event or some other event on campus, we just like to give them recognition and just say like, good job. And I know personally, when I was looking at Greek Life, a big thing was the Instagram. So I love doing it myself and just knowing that I have the chance to like inspire someone kind of to join Greek Life based on what the Instagram posts. So I definitely think if you're interested, go with our Instagram.
Yeah. And like we said before, you have your first semester to explore, to grow, to learn, to adapt to being a student at Southern. So you have time to make an informed decision. So you have time to learn. And I'm realizing now that when I started to talk about the eligibility requirements, we talked about, being a second semester, having earned 12 credits. And I just want to finish that thought process because we went off based on that part of it. But the other requirements are that you're a full-time student and that you have a 2.5 GPA. So that first semester is really important to focus on your academics and establish yourself as a student who can succeed academically. And that will help you in that kind of process to becoming eligible to participate in a recruitment process. So does anybody have any closing thoughts? If you had to give me one word that has a kind of that encompasses your experience in Greek life, just one word, and then we'll part ways.
Enhancement. It'll enhance your life tenfold.
Amazing.
My word, I definitely think is inspiring just by everyone that I've met through GLC and just like in my sorority as well. Like you just meet so many different people with so many different backgrounds and it's just so like eye-opening. So yeah.
I think for my word, I think I'll say, I don't know if this is like the correct term. Okay. Invigorating. I don't know if does that sound good?
We'll go with that. Yes. Tell us about
it. Let's see. Just like any chance that, just like any time, like either I step in a room, just like not even with my own sorority sisters, but just with any member of a Greek organization, like I automatically think automatically like it's invigorating and inspiring because it just makes me want to get to work and to get to the business of things because we all have one thing in common, that we want to do the work of our organizations, prospective organizations, and that we have a passion for helping our communities.
Yes. My word would probably be empowering, because it's a constant work of art. I guess that's the way I look at it. Because you're constantly working at something that could be professional development, that could be networking, that could just be yourself as an imana or an individual. You have that space in that community to grow however you want. So it is empowering because you have a whole community of like-minded women who are, there to support you in any way possible. That could be academically, that could be socially, that can be, professionally. So it definitely is an empowering experience overall.
Thank you so much. Okay. So thank you very much to our 4 wonderful student leaders and presenters, panelists. And again, like I said, they are the perfect representation of our 200 some odd fraternity and sorority members on our campus. I can't stress enough the impact that our fraternity and sorority community has on our campus, the direction that they push our university and students as a whole. So we are excited for you to participate, to get to know, to explore this world on our campus. If you have questions, feel free to utilize Southern's website, utilize our social media to get connected, ask us questions. We are here. But with that being said, thank you so much for participating in this discussion, and we hope to see you really soon. Bye.